Next one for this week is T-clip, CAD 1108 T-clips. Let's open this one up. I'll probably get a little faster as I go as I do these. So this one is going to be essentially the same instructions, different drawing, same way of submitting it, DWG and PDF, full scale, and there's the PDF of the dimensions to draw to. So I'll open up that, make sure that I can here. Should be the T-clip dimensions, right? So I have it. This is it. This is what we're going to do. I should have all the information here I need. It's really just a big, long, just a big, odd polygon, really. So I might just pick any point to start. But I might hit dead ends on this too. So we'll have to see. I don't have any degree measurements given. And in ASME standard, it's not always, in fact, it might be like, mm, I should hold my tongue here just a little bit because I think I know you can add degrees to drawings, and in some places that I worked, degrees were just a really great dimension to go to. ASME, like my preference that you do like almost like coordinate value dimensions where I'm kind of giving like an X and Y dimension to lock in a point, kind of like this point here to start this drawing might be, you know, 1 3/4 over, and it's well, I don't know, let's just think, but. So I'm just thinking of the way I would proceed to draw this. I could really start up here, and I could be like, so I kind of like, I'm almost kind of starting to pre-plan my draw here. So if I start this object here, I could go 1 inch down. Then I don't know what this length or degree is, other than it kind of ends at 4 inches. But I really don't know what slope this is. And then it would pick up, and I would have a dimension here that's not explicitly given, but I could probably figure it out. So I feel like I'm kind of into a kind of this could be a little difficult to figure out. I could definitely do some construction line work given what I have, that I come 1 inch down and then 1 3/4 over here. And I can lock in where this point is to where I could figure this out. So I might have to use some construction line work to get this figure out where these points will connect. But if I went this way, 1 inch, so then I'm coming over this way, 6.5 inches, down 1 inch, I would get into that same issue where I don't know. I would like to this part to say it's symmetrical. I'm assuming it's symmetrical. Like a lot of the dimensioning is only to one side and one side of its features, and the rest are not dimensioned. I feel like the reader starts to learn that that's because it's a symmetrical part. Sometimes a specific note or a local note might be helpful, so someone doesn't have to just assume that interpretation, but that it is noted on the drawing. So in this case, I could almost like revise this like dimensions drawing to maybe be a little bit more clear. There is some room for error here maybe, but let's just see if I have the information given. If I use some construction line work, can I kind of figure out where this would be? And let me show you maybe a little technique for this. So I'm gonna have this up on my other screen, and I'm gonna open my template file. So essentially I've got this should be the same file that I just opened, and then this is essentially what I need to finish. So pretty similar. I guess on the last one I didn't go through the rubric to see if there was, but I was hoping on that last rubric maybe it did say something about the circles and the 1/4 inch extension on the circles. I'm not going to worry about it in this assignment, but just pay attention to your rubric too. Like this is the way you self-check your drawings, and we'll get into self-checks and how critical they are, but nothing should be submitted until you've done a self-check and gone through maybe these line items and just check that back to your drawing and been like, did I catch that? Did I catch that? Did I catch that? So it's like a rubric is essentially kind of like a self-check, and it works really good that usually we don't submit drawings without doing a self-check in the industry even. No checker in the drafting world wants you to just they don't want to be having to catch everything. They'd like you to self-check and catch a bunch of stuff before you even submit it to another set of eyes to check it. So there's usually the more organized the company is, the better the self-check process is. And then usually even the checker has a list of checks they're looking for specifically. So let's do this. So I'm going to go to CAD. Funny how that makes my screen inactive, but I'm going to open up my template. So you'll see me, I like to do this over and over repetitively because I got to look for my DWT file. So I'm going to do this just because the more repetition we do, the better you lock into kind of a routine and the way to, the way to progress and proceed here. So I just need to find my template, which I'm just getting good at finding. Open it up. But immediately do a save as, get it into a drawing format. I'll remember to check this time. Drawing format. I want to put it in that same, pretty much the same. Well, week 3 is where we're doing these things. This one is the T clip, right? T clip, but it's not. I'm going to change my name just a little bit. I just selected that one because it populated that name when I clicked on it, and sometimes I use that to my advantage. Another like little file note thing is if something is roughly the same name, I can just click on it and it'll auto-populate that name down here. And then, of course, if you keep it the exact same name, it's going to ask you, do you want to overwrite that file? And I don't want to change any of these. I just needed a slightly different one because I do these in class. Is how I notate this, right? T-clip in class is how I differentiate my drawing for myself. I'm going to save this now. It's a DWG up top. It's got a different name. Love it. So I'm going to go over and draw now. So I've got that up on my other screen. I think I told you I'm going to start in the upper left of this one, and maybe I'll start with, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn on my construction layer. Make sure it's on. I'm going to do like this. If you've read some of the PowerPoint slides and or some of the textbooks talked about the glass box method. I like that my construction layer is this light blue because it looks like a glass panel. I'm going to build like a little glass box. It's a single pane of a glass box, right? I'm not doing a three-dimensional object. I'm just doing like a front view or something, a single view. And so I'm gonna build a box that's like the overall dimensions of this part. That might help me like narrow down some of just the geometry within like a um just within a boxed in shape that I know that I'm going to be working within this boxed in shape. So what I'm saying is, and you'll see me do this method, like especially when we get to orthographic projection, where we actually have a three-dimensional object and we're drawing like a top, front, and a right side view. Like I like to use this method to kind of almost capture where that view kind of fits. And so what I'm saying is if I look at this part, let me just look at the overall rectangular shape of this part. This part to me is 6.5 inches wide by 4 inches tall here. So I'm just going to do myself a construction rectangle that is 6.5 by 4. And everything that I draw is going to actually have to fit within that. So here is, I'm going to move to my construction layer. I'm going to draw a rectangle anywhere on here, but I want it to be like this little glass pane of this. So I'm gonna say this is going to be 6.5 in this direction, tab, and it was 4 inches in the other direction, right? I don't know. I should have it up on my screen somewhere. I have it. Do I? Yeah, right here. 4 by 6.5. So all I've done is just done the box where that fits in. Now let me see if I can piece together some of this. And yeah, there's a lot of different ways I could put this together, but so a way I could proceed with this, not doesn't have to be the only way, but a way I could proceed with this is, okay, I'm going to draw some visible line work now, some of my visible object. I can do a line, sure. Maybe I'll join it all at the end. So from here, the shape goes down 1 inch. So I haven't clicked, I just have drugged down to 1 and I clicked there. So it goes down 1 inch there, okay. Maybe I'll go back this direction now. So it's there. Then it's going to come over 6.5 inches. And then it's going to come down 1 inch. And maybe I'll escape. So I've been able to pencil in that much, 1 inch there. Now maybe I'll do, now that from that point, it's going to come at a slope until it hits a point down here. And I just need to know like how long that is. Well, it's like 1 3/4 according to my drawing. So I could actually come over here with my line again, lock into this one, pull this direction and say 1.75. That's 1 3/4. Hit enter. It's going to move me over there without drawing. And that's what I want. Then from there, this thing comes up to here. And I want to lock in on that endpoint. So I might have to zoom in, look for that endpoint grip to show up. Yes. So that way, I almost use my glass box method to kind of like constrain myself. I don't know what that degree is. I just know that it's 1 3/4 over from this particular plane. So, and then I pick up on some more dimensions, right? Like it goes over like 2 3/4. And so if I'm looking at how far the next thing is right here, I've got that point, I've got this line in. Then I need to know how long this is over. Well, I have to do some math here. Whoever's dimension this hasn't given me that explicitly, that dimension. So I have to kind of do some figuring. And this is when you get it, like I like this because then it gets you into working from like something like this. You're already working from someone else's drawing, and you kind of realize that would that have been handy to have that dimension put on there? Would it have been redundant? Should it have been put on there? These are all questions you have to ask yourself. Because right now I have to make a human calculation here. And can I make a human error? For sure. So right now I have to say that, okay, that's 1 3/4. This next one over is 2 3/4. So I can do the human error. I mean, I can do the math and say that's 1 inch over there. But what if you mess that up? Then you got a messed up looking part. So you would wonder if this dimension would have been nice to have explicitly displayed on here. And that's just a question you have to wonder. And it really highlights it when you work from your own prints, whether or not you've left somebody doing some math on their own. And in some cases it's okay. And in some cases, should I have not made them do math and have to mess something up potentially? So it's 1 inch over, and then I've got to go up how far? I don't know. I got to do math again. This is 4 and 1 and 1. So this is like 2 inches. So you see, I don't have this explicitly called out either, but it is 2 inches because it's four overall. And from 1 inch down and 1 inch down, that means that this is like 2 inches tall here. Another dimension that doesn't exist, I have to do some figuring. Should that be that way? It's debatable. How far does it go over this way? I don't know. I got to do math, right? It's like, I don't even know. What is this dimension? I'm gonna have to figure it out. The whole thing is 3.5 inches. How far did you go over? So you can see that I mean, even the design of this is meant for you to have to kind of think a little bit. I mean, that is the nature of this assignment, is maybe it's not meant to be like super clear, but you'll notice like this could be something that I would have been given from an engineer, and they would have like maybe just thought they gave you all the information and maybe it was good enough. But then I had to sit here and kind of figure out some stuff. And what I find is maybe from working from this that, oh, I did have all the information I needed to get it drawn, but I feel like there was some dimensions lacking. And sometimes I will make note of that. Like if I'm working from an engineer's model or an engineer's sketch, and I feel like there's pieces of data that I would have really found useful to draw it, then you can bet that somewhere downstream from you, it would be helpful if that dimension was on there. And so I will make notes, sometimes working from my engineer's notes, that there are some additional dimensions I'm going to add myself. Because I had to come up with them. I had to do some figuring to get them. And maybe I want to prevent that person downstream from me from having to do that figuring. Because then you've got a human error that I may have made on top of a human error that somebody else makes. And we start to compound human errors here. And so can our prints and the dimensioning we choose to put on there eliminate some of those mistakes? That's just a thought you need to think. So, and sometimes when I'm working like this, I'll make notes of maybe something I might need to define better on my own print. So these the assignments that are given to you aren't meant to be like perfect for sure. They're trying to create that thought process. So what I have figured out, back to my drawing, is I did a little bit of math and I did figure that, from here, it's 1 inch over. One, enter. From here, it goes up 2 inches, we decided. Yes, two. We had to figure that out. And then from here, it goes over. I never did figure out what this dimension is, so I really don't know. Maybe I'll just stop there. Okay. So how am I going to piece this together? Well, I might do some more construction works. I might flip over to my construction layer and I might put in some lines here. So I don't know. One thing that would be helpful, I could work over from the center over here and maybe piece this in. So maybe one construction thing that might help is if I came over here to the midpoint. This is a triangle is a midpoint of a line. I have a midpoint here as well from this little line segment, but this midpoint that I'm picking up is the glass box midpoint. Maybe I'll find that and maybe I'll do another construction layer up through here to this side. So I'm midpoint to midpoint. That's kind of like a center plane of this part. And then I might do another one across here. So I might take another line from this 1 inch down. We drew this line 1 inch down. Maybe I'll draw this one across. Because what I notice is when I look at this, is that this particular line here, it's 3.5 inches long, this bottom of this T clip slot here. It's like it's on the same point as this 1 inch. So this is 1 inch down to where this turned. So where this line exists is kind of like 1 inch down. So I might like go to the center point like here, try to figure out where center is here, and then draw back half of that distance. and then come down 1 inch and then come in and then hit where I left off there. So I might proceed this way. This is just one way. I might proceed from center over and over back to this point. So let me do that. I might need to know what half of 3.5 is. And so if you don't know that off the top of your head, then that's what we have a calculator built into CAD for, or I have a calculator built into, I always have my calculator function right here ready to go. It's one that I keep locked in on my, it doesn't help you because your thing will get wiped and any customization you would have done won't stay, but I always keep my calculator handy. If you search for your calculator here, right? Like, sorry, my that search bar doesn't work, but if you typed in calculator, all Word, Word, Microsoft will, Windows 11, that's what I'm in. Windows 11, even all the previous Windows, they always had a calculator built in. I use the heck out of it. I'm going to close it down or minimize it at least. Okay, let's go back and draw this in. It's 3.5 inches. So what I want, I'm going to do a construction line that actually is from here. I know that line is somewhere on this plane here. So this is just more construction line work. I just drew a line totally horizontal across. It's 1 inch down from there. And then that now, where these two cross is kind of the midpoint of where that line would come over, down and over. Yeah, so I'm going to use this little crossing area here to be where I'm going to draw this next line that is actually the line I want to draw. That's going to be half of 3.5 right here. Whatever half of that is, I'm going to draw over and down and over. Yes. So let's figure out what half of 3.5 is. I don't know. Use a calculator. The other calculator you have access to is up by your measurement tool, your really powerful utilities palette. There is a calculator, an embedded calculator, super handy. You click on this, nothing happens. You click on it again, something happens because I clicked on another program. Here's my little calculator. I don't usually dock it anywhere specifically. I just like it to pop up kind of out of my way. I think they'll generally pop up where you last used them when the program's tracking you and not getting wiped. But here's my little calculator. I can just enter in. I can click in, or I think I can just type in here too with the number pad. So it'd be like 3.5 divided by 2. It's 1.75 is the answer here. So what I have is I'm going to go back to my visible, and that thing will just stay docked there in case I need it. But visible line from this little point here is actually comes over. And I actually did click there because I'm actually pulling this line. I want that line to be, I'll do that again. I actually did click hard here, and now I'm drawing this line over the top of that other line. It's on a different layer. So I'm trying to keep track of lines over line. It's 1.75, half of 3.5. Enter. And then I'm going to go down from there. It's 1 inch down on the drawing, and then it should hook up with that perfectly. There's the snap right there. And escape. So awesome. That's like half the shape. I could go back and start drawing all that the same, or I can use mirror. I've actually drawn half. You notice that I've kind of drawn half. I essentially started with more. So I might come back and trim this out or delete it. Like this is a separate line segment. I never drew a polyline, so it's not connected. If I had used polyline, I might need to use explode to break up the line segments different. So it wouldn't be wrong. I just need to explode it to get to an individual segment. But I think I'm going to delete this white one that's over the top. I'm going to delete that one. This one is a full length line. So I could either pull the grip back to there, or I think I'll just trim it. Like if I go here to trim and I just pick that one line, it's going to pick whatever's on top. We'll talk about that. There are ways to choose which line is on top. This might be a good place to at least introduce it, and then I need to come back and use it more. But because we have a line on top of a line here, I had my glass box rectangle, and then I drew lines right over the top. So I'm kind of getting to that line over line, however they are on separate layers. But when you do that, you can always like bury a line over a line. Usually whatever you can see is what has been drawn last over the top. And it's kind of almost like building a layer that this one is the last one drawn so I can see it more, and it starts to bury the one underneath it. But you can always pick to send whichever line you want to the front. So let me show you how that might be if it'll work here, if I can get to it. So on the modify tab, on the expandable list is this really other powerful expandable list down here to the right. And this thing, if there's a lot of powers under this one, look how big this thing. Oh my gosh. This is buried, this totally like You would never be able to find this hardly unless you knew where it was, right? Like this, this this buried dialog box here is super powerful. Bring to the front is what I want to do, or send to the back. So these do different things, but when I'm talking about a line, I can choose to bring one to the front that I can maybe get a little better, or send one to the back that I want to fall behind. I use this especially on my drawings to kind of show precedence. Some I don't like dimension lines to be over the top of visible lines. I really like my visible lines to show the most precedence in the model space and on the drawing. And so I use this strategically to send things to the back or bring something to the front. So I feel like I use the two functions here mostly, but um, right now my white line is on top, and that makes it easy to trim. Like it's going to be the one that gets selected because it's on the front. If the other one, and I'm going to see if I can actually bring the I'm going to see if I can bring this box one to front. I don't know if I can because I'd have to like tab select it to find the one. So it's going to be hard for me to actually get the box into the front here. So I just wanted to bring that up though. Um, maybe I'll show you here. These two lines, and I can get to each one individually a little bit here. The white line here is definitely on the front of the construction line here, but I could bring this construction line to the front. So let me try it right here where it's a little bit more obvious. Bring to front this one. And then I'm just going to say, okay, click enter and see how it buried the white line behind it. You just brought this one up as a priority one, bring it to front. I could also use the send to back to bring it behind. I feel like I'd probably use the bring to front more, like I'm trying to find one. But in this case, this would be a good candidate for send to back. I'm going to send this line to the back behind everything else, like get in the back of the line type of a thing. So that just shows overlapping stuff. I can kind of prioritize what I can grab and what's going to be trimmed or active. Maybe I just need to modify which one is in the front, which one's in the back. So we'll dive into that more. I was just exposing you to that option here. Okay. Let's trim this though. The moral of the story is I just wasn't sure if yours would be brought to the front or back or not, or if you have to like pull it off. So I just trimmed it. Now, what I want to do is just take a look at this thing. So I'm going to turn off I'm on the visible object layer where I'm drawing. I'm just going to turn off my construction layer just to take a look. Sometimes I do this all the time oh yeah, see, you can definitely tell I've got like half an object here. And a lot of times when I'm drawing geometry, I think of how fast the mirror command can draw the other half of my geometry. So sometimes, it's a good habit to be like, try to visualize not have to don't visualize everything as you have to draw it all. Like maybe visualize is there a shortcut in here, and sometimes just drawing half of what you need is a quicker way to get the whole thing drawn, right? Like right now I've just drawn half. So if I bring up my construction stuff, I'm gonna mirror this. Mirror this line. This slide, I'm like single selecting, just going through like carefully. I could group select and then deselect. If you hold down shift, that should be another thing I show is how to like if you've lassoed stuff and you don't want that in there, if you just hold down shift and reselect it, it'll remove it. Like even now when I'm like I pick something I didn't want, like I think if I just hold down shift and re-click this, it keeps me in the command, but it deselects it. It'll be the same way if you like lassoed something in. You can get in there and like hold down shift and like localize what you want to deselect or actually select. So in this case, I'm just going to keep clicking these around. But remember, just hold down shift and deselect it if it wasn't something you wanted to be part of this. Otherwise, we always get in the habit of like, okay, get out of that command and then redo it. But there is some, there's some options while you're within the command to, you don't have to be perfect necessarily. But this is the shape. Everything's been selected. Those are my objects. I'm not copying any of the construction layers, just the visible lines. So I'm going to say right click or press enter. First point of the mirror line. A mirror line has to be 2 points to make a line or a plane, right? So I'm going to pick just across the center line here. There I can see my half showing up. And then erase source objects, no. Excellent. Then I'm going to take a quick look at this with the construction layer off again. Excellent. That's what it looks like. It's all individualized. I never did make it a polyline but now I'm going to make it a close. I think I'm going to join everything. So I think I'm going to pick the join command. This is going to be my workflow. Join it as a full piece. enter it. Now I'm going to select it and make sure it's all selectable. If that isn't, if I can't do this, that means you've got a corner somewhere that is not aligned, and that can be a little bit of a, looking for a needle in a haystack problem. And so what is my advice there? Usually, my advice is I know this does a lot of different line segments. My advice is I try to pinpoint it by seeing what I can join. So if I like group selected all that and I couldn't join it, okay, then I would say I can't do the whole thing because I don't know where the error is necessarily. So I could pick join and then just individually start selecting these. And if they don't go blue to blue to blue to blue, I'll know that I found maybe a point that's not aligned, right? Or I have a point that isn't the grips, I didn't get them together. And so if you select all these, like I'm like anyway, I've got mine all hooked up, but I would kind of maybe get if you do that big selection and try to join all that and it didn't work, then you've got to come back in and do it piece by piece and try to figure out where it's not connected. So that's just good manufacturing habits to get your parts ready for a machine interpretation of this part, that it's all joined as a polyline, everything hooks up right. I don't see any errors that maybe a laser cutter might find an error and leave like something, it might leave a corner that's not quite cut. So here I'm kind of preventing some of that machine interpretation error that's going to maybe happen downstream from my part. So done. This one is, need to go check it on paper. So let's go back over to my paper space. Maybe I'll get rid of my calculator. And let's go ahead and resize my viewport. I'm actually just moving it out here to these grips. I'm going to get in, click in, unlock it, unlock, scroll it over here. I'm going to put it at 1 to 1. It's already at 1 to 1. I'm just going to center it a little bit better. That looks great. Center. Lock it down. If this annoys you to see the grid, you can turn off the grid. It doesn't print. We've noticed that. I just sometimes leave mine on. Maybe it's an alignment thing, but this is how you turn off that grid, even when you're in model space. So you can see get a little closer look at what it looks like before you even hit print. I'm going to jump into here, change this name. I remember this time. This is CAD 1108 T clip. Whether there's a space there or not is not really important. T clip. The date is the 9th. I want to stress the importance of dates on your drawing. It's super important. Like dates, you'll always have a date in a title block, and when you do revisions, you date them, and so there's like keeping the dates are super important. Yeah, always have been in drafting. So let's do a print preview. Control P or use your print button. Let's do a preview. Hey, this looks good. There I see the actual object line weight with a little scroll. I think maybe if I just do this, kind of shows like zoom it to fit and what the line weights will look like. So this is good. Done deal. Save this as a PDF. So maybe I'll do that. I'll say, okay, I love the look of that. It's already driving me down to that week, but technically I'm in week 3 with this drawing, and it's T-clip in class is what mine should be. Yeah. I think I noticed that I didn't put the other in class one in here. Save. I've got it there now. It should open the browser to preview it. One thing I wanted, a little file management for me, is sometimes when I do this, I figure out like, did I actually put that last week assignment in this? I bet you this one, I bet you in here I have like a in class. I should have the in class spacer, but am I wrong? Did I do the base plate in class? That one. That's in the wrong. I knew I did once I couldn't see it. It's my base. The last assignment I did, I like I like didn't save it in the right file, so it lives in here. This happens all the time. You got to keep track of your files. This one should have been in week 3. Now when I go over to week 3, oh, it's open. So see, that's the area you'll get if you're trying to move a PDF, especially in my file moving, and it won't. I actually I have to close it. Currently, it's open in my PDF viewer. Not that one. This one. Yeah, my PDF viewer, I have lots of them open. I have the template, I'll close it. I have that base plate that I use as dimensions. That's the one that I was trying to move, and it won't move because I had it open in this program. That's the one we just used to draw. I'd probably go ahead and close that now. This is the new one that I just saved, but now I go back to my folder. And now to let me move it. It's actually in week two. I put it in the wrong one. The drawing for it exists in the right week. The drawing for it is base plate in class right here. It just doesn't have a PDF to go with it because I put it in the wrong folder. It'll usually drive down to the last folder you saved in. So you got to really pay attention that you put things in the where you want them. And this one, in this case, I wanted it here. Now let me move it. I didn't have it open. So now in week three, I've got my base plate in class that I did, and I've got my base plate in class PDF. And in this case, we just did the T-clip. So I did the T-clip in class drawing, and I have the T-clip in class PDF. It just makes it easy to turn in assignments if they're the same name and they're right by each other. And so this is my flow, is that those two work together. Yeah, one's the drawing that's modifiable, one's the PDF. Okay, done deal. On to the next one.